We are live.
So good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are joining us from around the world. I hope you and your family are doing well. Before we begin, I want to warmly welcome you all to the Women Ascension GBV Summit. And I want to express my gratitude to everyone who worked tirelessly behind the scene to make this gathering possible. Thank you to Tamina, to Dr. Mahin, to the entire Women Ascension team, to the department heads, to every member and every fellow. Your dedication, seen and unseen, it was brought us to this moment. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Anna Barquette, Head of Department of Learning and Understanding AI and STEAM at Women Ascension and founder of Plan AB Global Holding. And it's my pleasure to be the moderator of this summit. We stand today in the year 2025 and as we move toward 2026, and yet we still find ourselves coming back to the subject of violence. Not because we choose to, but because the world continues to demand it from us. Violence is not only what's physical, it can be emotional, psychological, economic, social, and digital. It takes many forms and it exists everywhere. This is not the story of one woman, it is a story of every woman, every girl who was pushed into invisibility, denied the basic right to learn, to go to school, to grow, to live with dignity. We are not here today to accuse anyone. We are not here to point fingers. We are here to one reason, to create impact. And this brings me to a truth I want each one of you to pause with for a moment. There are times when awareness is not a metric, times when the real measures becomes deeply personal. What do you stand? And what do you stand for? Not every moment in the life carried this weight, but tonight it does. So wherever you are right now, I want to invite you, take a breath, even for a second, and ask yourself honestly, are you here to contribute to restoring balance, or are you here carrying a silence shaped by others? This is not a question for the world, it's a question for you as an individual, as a leader, as a human being. What position do you choose to take tonight? Before we begin with our speakers, let me briefly acknowledge the institutions that bring us together tonight. Women Ascension, founded by Dr. Mahin Amjad, is a global movement present in 130 countries, a platform dedicated to building competence, confidence, and sustainable leadership. It is a space where women and allies, men, develop skills, practice leadership, and create opportunities that elevate entire community. Through its programs and global fellowships, Women Ascension stand for dignity, accessibility, and real human development. This summit is one expression of that mission. And before we move forward, let's connect a moment. Let's create a moment of connection. If you feel comfortable, I would love to you to write in the chat, where are you joining us from? We would be honored to know and to recognize the incredible global community gathering here with us. So just drop in the chat, where are you from? Tonight we have the honor of hosting 11 exceptional speakers from different parts of the world. Each of them will have 6 minutes to present one of the core themes of the summit, themes that reflect the real landscape and gender-based violence today. We will move through key themes from economy independence and policy reform to digital protection, education, justice, and mental health. Just last thing, a quick reminder, this summit will run for 1 hour and a half, and every part of it is carried value, deep, and insight. So I invite you to stay with us, stay present, and take every opportunity to learn, reflect, and benefit from the remarkable voices we have with us tonight. And now, with great honor, let me move to our first speaker. To open the summit, it is an honor to begin with our keynote speaker, Patrina Matrosi. I hope that I spell it correctly. She is a criminal justice mentor and a powerful advocate for social justice. Her lived experience combined with her work in rehabilitation, policy reform, and forensic psychology brings a perspective rooted in truth, courage, and impact. Tonight, she will speak to us about the importance of understanding gender-based violence. Patrina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Right, hi, can you see that?
Yeah.
Lovely. Hello, good evening. So, the worst sin towards our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity. Those endowed with a voice bear a vital responsibility to advocate for the voiceless. As we convene at this summit for women's ascension, gender based violence, and the elimination of violence against women, 16 days of activism, let us remain committed to empowering silenced victims whose narratives are often obscured by fear, shame, coercion, and injustice. Our collective efforts and solidarity must ensure that survivors and victims' experiences are neither silenced nor erased across past and future generations, but instead brought to light, illuminating their suffering, mobilizing action, and fostering hope and dignity for all impacted by gender based violence. Gender based violence refers to violence that is rooted in gender norms, power imbalances, and in discrimination against people based on their gender. It encompasses a range of acts that causes physical, sexual, psychological, or economic harm, including but not limited to intimate partner violence, sexual child marriage, female genital mutilation, trafficking, sexual harassment, and coercive control. Gender based violence is not a private issue, it's a structural public health, human rights, and development challenge that restricts women's, girls, boys, and non binary people's safety, autonomy, and potential. Approximately 25% of women aged 15 to 49 and 24% of women aged 15 and older who have been married or partnered have endured physical or sexual violence from a current or former male partner at least once in their lives. This amounts to 682 million women worldwide. Among women aged 15 and older, 13% of ever married or partnered women and 11% of all women aged 15 plus experienced physical or sexual intimate partner violence in the past year, affecting 316 million women. It's an urgent call to action, and early intervention is crucial, as over 23% of adolescent girls 15 and 19 report intimate partner violence. Now, an intimate partner violence also affects women in older age groups. 20.5% of ever married or partnered women aged 65 and above have experienced physical or sexual violence from a current or former husband or male partner at least once in their lifetime. And over the past year, this violence affected 3.9% of this age group, underscoring the urgent need for targeted intervention. The persistent issues of child marriage and female genital mutilation are alarming. 1 in 5 women aged 20 to 24 was married before turning 18, and alarmingly, legal protections remain insufficient. In 2022, only 14% of women and girls lived in countries with comprehensive laws against violence, and only 633 countries have rape laws based on consent. Now, global efforts have accelerated the fight against female genital mutilation, reducing the likelihood of a girl will experience it by about 1/3 in 30 years. Yet population growth threatens to undermine its progress, with an estimated 27 million more girls potentially facing female genital mutilation by 2030, and over 230 million women and girls affected by the long-term consequences of female genital mutilation, such as HIV transmission, severe pain, urine retention, shock, infection, hemorrhage, loss of trust in caregivers, depression, and anxiety. Findings from UNICEF show that many boys and men oppose female genital mutilation, but in Ethiopia, a country with one of the highest rates of female genital mutilation worldwide, male opposition to the practice is 87%. Now, recent UN reports and data from 2025 reveal alarming statistics concerning digital violence against women and girls, highlighting the pervasive threat from the manosphere. Now, notably to date, no comprehensive report, so no UN Digital Violence Manosphere 2025 exists, but key findings from this UN campaign include up to 80% of women and 20% of girls have experienced digital violence. 38% of women have faced online abuse, with 85% witnessing such incidents. Between 90 to 90% of deepfake content consists of non-consensual pornography, predominantly involving women, and 73% of women journalists report online violence, and young women 18 to 24 are 4 times more likely to encounter digital violence than women over 65. These statistics emphasize the urgent need for targeted policy intervention and continued research to address this pervasive form of violence, which remains critical concern worldwide. So, as a survivor of being sex trafficked as a minor, survivors carry the heavy burden of stigma rooted in cultural norms, power imbalances, victim blaming attitudes, and systemic biases that continues to silence survivors, casting us into obscurity. This silence protects perpetrators, grants them unchecked freedom, and renders victims invisible, living among us in plain sight. There is no room for silence or neutrality when justice is at stake. Collective voices must rise, and through open hearts and persistent dialogue, inviting civil society and governments to listen, we can illuminate the way for survivors and victims and forge a future where violence is not silenced and fairness, safety, and equity flourish for all. Thank you for holding a space for survivors' voices. May today be a step towards a world where no one is owned, trafficked, or silenced, that every person can live with safety, autonomy, and the full enjoyment of their human rights. And thank you for my voice today. I am here not as an abstract statistic, but as a survivor whose life was bargained, hidden, and brutalized by systems that should have protected me. My voice is a testament to endurance and a call to action for the rights of all people to live free from violence, coercion, exploitation, and fear. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Katrina, for your contribution and the deep you brought to this conversation. Really, the statistics that you shared are not just numbers. Really, they are a sad and harsh reality that women are still living every single day. And it's demands that we listen with responsibility and curiosity. And if there is one truth I want us all to carry forward for this keynote, it is violence does not begin with the act. It begins with the moment society decide not to see, and change begins the moment we decide to truth, look, to understand, and to refuse the comfort of silence. Thank you again very much, Katrina, for what you shared with us. So we move our next theme is empowering women through economic independence aligned with SDG 5 and SDG 10, a pillar without which no society can claim progress. It is an honor to introduce Dr. Mahin Amjad, our founder and president of Women Ascension, architect of 1 Million Leadership 2030, and CEO of Entrepreneur Ecole and Sheward. She will speak in on financial independence, entrepreneurship, employment access, and the gender pay gap, core drivers of freedom and long-term stability of women. Dr. Mahin, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see the screen that I'm sharing and my voice is clear. Please do a thumbs up so that I can continue.
Yes, we can see.
Lovely. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. All right, with this, dear speakers, our beautiful community of Women Ascension and newly joined in participants, thank you so much for joining us and for your constant support. Today, I would like to share one of our experiences, and I hope it helps you to reflect on why we took this step and how you can use this particular case that I'm sharing with you now to strengthen your approach in sustaining your community's quality of life. In 2015, under the NGO we were working with that time, that's Feed for Poors, we began our work in one of the Karachi's most overlooked and underserved town, Orangi. Our focus was education, women's rights, and basic community development. But as we went deeper, one truth stood out above everything else. Domestic violence was rooted in economic stress and financial dependency. Most of the households survived on rupees 8,000 to rupees 12,000 a month. That's under $80 to $120 at that time. With this level of poverty, women were confined indoors, girls were pulled out of schools, and families lived in constant emotional and financial pressure. The pressure often turned into conflict, tension, and cycle of domestic violence that women had no power to escape. This led us to difficult, but it's an essential question. How do you empower women when they are not allowed to step outside? How do you strengthen them when their environment restricts every movement? We understood that no awareness session, no lecture, no slogan, or no policy paper alone could solve this. The one real solution was economic empowerment, delivered in culturally respectful way. So we come up with Aqua 360, water company backed with the home-based water labeling micro enterprise. The idea was simple and aligned with cultural boundaries. If women could not go out, we would bring the work to them. We went door to door, explaining that women could label water bottles from home. For each bottle, they would earn rupees 1, and we would handle the pickup, delivery, and all materials. Out of the 265 households in that community, only 3 families agreed in the beginning. Cultural extremism was strong. Religious rigidity created hesitation. People were skeptical and resident. But change always began with a few brave ones. Those first women produced around 1,500 bottles a day, 45,000 bottles a month at rupees 1 per bottle. They earned rupees 45,000 monthly, more than 5 times the average household income. In dollars, their earning rose from under $80 to nearly $430 to $450 per month. And when something remarkable happened, when a woman earns even a little with her own hands, something shifts within her. She becomes less dependent. She finds a voice. She gains confidence and inner stability. These women begin to resolve domestic tensions with more clarity and strength. Their presence in their households grew more respected as neighborhoods and neighbors themselves saw the change. More women joined. Within 2 months, the project grew naturally, not because we pushed, but because the results were undeniable. Today, almost a decade later, when we revisit the same neighborhood, the transformation is extraordinary. Girls are in school, women are earning from home, families that once resistant change now welcoming it. What was once a slum-like culturally rigid environment has become a community moving forward, not because of charity, but because of opportunity. This experience taught us a powerful lesson, one I want every leader in this room to carry with them. If you want to uplift a community, awareness is not enough. You must create pathways, you must build a system that allows people to sustain themselves. Leadership is about designing solutions that work within realities and culture of the people you serve. Real change does not begin in conference halls and air-conditioned rooms. It begins in a narrow street, inside small homes, with small opportunity, and that grow into big transformation. Every community, every woman, every family faces some form of struggle. The question is, what are we doing as leaders to make their path easier? What solution are we designing that empower people to stand on their own? Because when you give women a chance to earn, even from inside her home, you do not just change her income. You change her confidence, her family, her future, and the future of her daughters. This is what we witness. That is what is possible. Over years, we saw something um, even deeper. Economic empowerment does not stay with one woman, it spreads. As financial stress eased, arguments reduced, homes softened, respect grew, men began seeing women as partners, not burdens. The narrative of she cannot, she should not slowly dissolved with time. Girl returned to school. Families that once saw education as unnecessary began prioritizing it with pride. The entire atmosphere changed from silence and restriction to movement, confidence, and hope. Small shops has opened, home-based businesses emerged, women taught each other new skills, families supported one another. Those once who doubted become advocates for those who once resisted become protectors of progress. And all of this began with one small idea: bring opportunity to women, and the community will rise. So today, I turn this reflection towards you, the leaders, the policymakers, and the builders in this room. Beyond your position and title, just ask yourself, what are you creating for your community? What can you design that is new, practical, and sustainable? What system can you build that strengthens dignity inside of dependence? Leadership is not about doing what is required. Leadership is about going beyond, creating pathways where none exist, offering mechanism, not just motivation, providing solutions, not just sympathy. Our work in Orangi Town stands as a reminder that even in places shaped by cultural extremism, economic hardship, and deep resistance, change is possible when leaders dare to think differently. And the truth is simple. You don't always need major budgets or international grants to change a life. Sometimes you need just one idea, the courage to act, and the willingness to stand with community until they can stand for themselves. When women rise, families rise. When family rise, neighborhoods rise. And when neighborhoods rise, that is how nation changes. So this small case is in your disposal. And I would really like to see how would you use your connections, networks to build your community as a whole, how you can bridge the gap, and how you can become a force of ripple effect. So thank you so much for listening to the conversation and the thoughts and the case. Over to you, Miss Amal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahin, for this powerful and essential contribution. Your words remind us that economic independence is not a luxury for women. It is the foundation of safety, dignity, and choice, and the importance of networking and the ideas. And this is I want to leave with everyone here. Is this a woman who controls her incomes, controls her life, and a society that empowers her secures its own future? So our next theme shifts to a critical pillar in ending gender-based violence, policies, data, and accountability. Because without systems that measure reality, reform it, and report its justice remain incompletely. It is my honor to introduce Jacqueline Nawad from Lebanon, a leader whose journey speaks for itself. With over a decade in banking, she mastering financial management and strategic leadership until gender bias denied her a managerial role simply because she was a woman. That moment became her turning point, pushing her into the non-profit sector, where she now serves as operational manager for a US-based humanitarian organization, leading impactful initiative for vulnerable communities in Lebanon. Today, Jacqueline will speak on GBV data system, policy reforms, monitoring, reporting, and global accountability, the mechanisms that turn awareness into action. Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. I am really happy to be part of this. Dear all, before I begin, I want to ask you to pause for just one moment and think of a woman, a friend, a colleague, or a sister, or a neighbor, and now imagine that she has been suffering in silence. Imagine that she is afraid to speak. Imagine that she is hurt, unheard, and unseen while the world continues as if nothing is happening. This reality is not hypothetical. This is the truth for millions of women and girls around the world today. And this is why we are here. Laws are not just words, they are lifelines. Gender-based violence is not only a social issue, it's a human emergency. Strong policies and legal frameworks are not about paperwork or formality. They are lifelines that determine whether a woman is protected or abandoned, whether she finds safety or despair. Too often, survivors finally gather the courage to seek help only to face doubt, blame, or indifference. A law that exists but is not implemented is a broken promise. A protection order that is ignored is a silent betrayal. We need laws do more than only exist. We need laws that work, laws that respond, and laws that protect with urgency and compassion. There is too many voices around the world that we cannot hear. One of the most painful truths about gender-based violence is what we can measure is only a fraction of what's happening. When a survivor chooses silence, it is not because her pain is small. It is because her fear is enormous. So when you look at GBV art statistics, we must remember, behind every number is a story. Behind every missing number is a woman who did not feel safe enough to speak. Reliable data is not about counting cases. It's about acknowledging reality. It is about saying to survivors, we see you even when you cannot come forward. We need unified national reporting systems, safe channels, trained responders, and confidential processes. Because the truth is simple. We cannot fight what we refuse to measure. So accountability is the courage to ask difficult questions. Are our systems protecting survivors? Are our institutions doing enough? Are our commitments more than statements? Accountability means monitoring, evaluating, and improving services from police units to health facilities. It means funding shelters, training professionals, and ensuring survivors are never left alone to navigate their trauma. It also means that when governments make international commitments, those commitments must lead to action plans, not press releases. They must include deadlines, indicators, and evaluations. Real accountability does not happen in silence. It happens when we insist together that every promise must be kept. Let us never forget what this entire conversation is truly about. a woman who wants to sleep without fear, a girl who deserves to grow without trauma, a mother who wants her children to live in a home that feels safe, a survivor who wants her story to matter. These are not victims, they are human beings with dreams, with futures and voices that deserve dignity. Ending a collective call to courage for you all. Today, I stand here with one message. We need courage. The courage to look at the reality of GBV and refuse to normalize it. The courage to believe survivors without questioning their worth. The courage to push for policies that protect data that reveals and accountability that delivers. And most importantly, the courage to build a world where women are not merely surviving, but living freely, fully, and safely. On this International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, let us move forward with hearts that feel, minds that understand, and systems that act. Let us transform pain into policy, silence into data, commitment into accountability, and fear into freedom. Every woman deserves a life without violence. Let's make that life possible, especially here in the Middle East. We hear stories and we hear them only when that victim is killed. But millions are in silence. We only unfortunately hear stories when the woman is killed, when the girl is raped. This is what we hear. I will give a case that happened just yesterday in Lebanon. A man killed his wife and then he killed himself. And the kids, they came home to find their both parents dead. And what people are saying now, they're saying that that woman is a bad woman. Imagine, after he killed her, they're saying she probably was bad. We're only giving excuses. We're giving excuses to violence against women. We're giving mentality that's still living in history to just kill or to just violate or to just use a person. Unfortunately, and again, the bad part of the story is we only hear about them is when people or women they are dead or when they are raped. But when what everything else is happening in silence, no one knows about it because women are too afraid, because unfortunately they have no one but God to protect them. Especially in the Middle East, there is no rules to protect women. There is even rules to defend the criminal because what he did was because she was a bad person. And I cannot talk about all this now because we're out of time, but this is the truth, unfortunately. So hopefully, let's make that life possible, and maybe speaking about it will help everyone in this world maybe be more aware of it and be more courageous to talk about it, even to any community outside maybe their country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for your honestly your strength and the clarity about of this theme. It's really a rash reality that is still seen in our days in 2025. Evolution and development not in tools but in minds. We must really to start in evolution and development our minds before we move into other things. So this reminds us that it's systemic and it shapes futures. Thank you again, Jacqueline, for your contribution. So our next theme. Thank you very much. So our next theme brings us to one of the harshest reality of our times, GBV in conflict and crisis setting, where violence intensify, protection collapse, and women and girls carry the heaviest burden. It is my honor to introduce Anna Laula Pashchenko. I hope that I pronounce it correctly. An educator, volunteer, and advocate originally from Ukraine and now based in Greece. For over 3 years, she has been supporting displaced Ukrainian women and children, teaching language, guiding families through new systems, and helping them rebuild stability, identity, and hope in unfamiliar environment. Her work is not only educational, it is protective, humanitarian, and deeply human. Tonight, Anna will speak about emergency response, the protection of displaced women, and conflict-related sexual violence. Anna, the floor is yours. Please, can you
Yeah.
open and mute?
Yeah.
Correct.
I
Thank
was
you.
looking for how to unsilent myself. So thank you everyone for letting me speak at this event, and it's a very important topic we discussed today. As previous speaker said, that the violence against women worldwide is huge, and we know that there are some data, some statistics, and practically we know that 1 in 3 women in their life will experience or have already experienced violence against them. It could be sexual violence, it could be emotional violence, and of course, it could be, violence which will lead to a death, and this will not be registered as violence. It will be like a criminal. So we don't even include in 840 million women the ones which were just killed. And another thing which is not measured at this moment is people which are in the conflict zones. We have so many people, women, children, men, who are living in countries which are in war, and one of them is Ukraine currently. And since this conflict started, since Russian invasion in 2022, 8 million women and children from Ukraine had left Ukraine, and this is huge number. And these people were running away to different countries and even different continents. And definitely some of them were their rights and their lives were violated through these traumatic traveling periods. And what we need to remember that in every situation like this, we as society, as people, as people from their country living in every corner of the world, it's our obligation to support people like this and to do our best to teach them, to provide for them, to assist them in any way we can. At the beginning of my presentation, I will practically talk a little bit about general situations, and then if I have time to make some little examples here, because living in Greece, I can see both sides of this situation, how the European nation like Greek behaves, and how they need and must respect women, but still we have a lot of cases of violence here for girls, for women, domestic violence, killing women at homes. And I also see the part of refugees who came here, this relocated society which we have here, and how we can avoid this situation with violence, and how we can prevent any unnecessary violent or bullying cases with children in school. So we know that violence is awful in any of its forms. And when we speak about violence against women, we know that it damages generally society in whole. It means that people are not protected in this society, and violated rights, it's not just the rights which are violated, but it's trauma which this person will have for whole life. It could be a physical, which we know that it will be physical injury, chronic pain, sexually transmitted infections, which could be gained in this way, unwanted pregnancies, and also it's a big mental trauma, which I believe it influences even more and never passes. It will be depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress. It will be diminished ability to participate in education, in work, in social life. And I believe these people face this problem of mental impact for their whole life. So it's really important for us to stand with these people, to help them, to assist, to know about their story if they will, to share, and to treat them as equal, because sometimes we turn with pity and it's even worse. So they want to feel equal, respected, like all the other people around them. And we know that in war countries which are involved in wars, especially where the troops are. It's so awful situation. They kill people. They rape men, women, children. It's absolutely dramatic. So we need to see how we can prevent wars. In case we have wars, how we can take people away from these areas to avoid any kind of violence. Then people who return from war, they have, post-traumatic stress from the war, so there is violence in families because of the war, and we need to have a lot of mental health support to such families so they can support men who will not um have domestic violence towards their women and children. What we can do about changing this situation? First of all, we need to gather data, and the society now collects data, and it's a good first step because we understand the size of the problem, we understand the problem itself, and based on this, we can understand what we need to choose to improve, to change, what laws should be voted, and how we will move on based on this data. Then we definitely need to increase global awareness of people about the violence and how we should fight it and prevent it generally. And third, it's actually practical support, which is the case. And practical support starts with everyone and with each one of us. Because when we have someone, the neighbor next to you who is suffering domestic violence or case of violence in general, we need to give a hand to this person. We need to support in any way, to talk, to spend time with, to have their children in our home, to share our food. Sometimes, they could be suffering even in this thing. So we need to do the best to support others because you never know what will happen in your life, and maybe God forbid, but anyway, maybe at some moment you will need some help. So start doing good things to people around you. So what we practically can do, the states, the non-government organizations, each of us, teachers at school, everyone around, we need to start acting immediately and continue the programs which exist and start new programs which could be done. And what is the first step? It's awareness and education campaigns at school, in groups, in societies, in small communities. We need to understand that violence is not okay. We need to make the climate in our society the way it will not accept any violence at all. We need to protect people who have suffered from it and give them safe space to talk about it so they will feel better because they shared it, and we will know how to help these people. Then it's empowerment of girls and women with education, economic support, access to resources, legal knowledge, because many women know that they will go to police and police will say it's your fault, or they don't know where to go with their problem or whom to connect. So we need to educate women what's the first place you go. And for me, as an example, when the Ukrainian women came here with their kids, first thing we did, we provided them with the phone numbers of the embassy, of the hotline, which is working 24 hours 7, so they can call there at any point. If they face some problem, danger, violence, whatever, they can contact these people and they will go and protect them. And because it's embassy of your country and you are a citizen, they support you. Of course, we gave them phone of police and some other phones of some organizations, but many of them do not speak Greek. And it's difficult when you are anxious and you are a victim of violence to explain what's going on. So provide people with information where they can get legal support and fast. So it will be really life-saving in some cases. Then safe community spaces and social support, which is an example from Greece. We have here some hotlines for women who are victims of violent situations. It could be family violence, it could be violence in general. And they can call there to the hotline, and there are organizations who support these women, and they can even come to specific shelters and stay there with children, and they will receive help. They will have psychologists, and if they are victims of domestic violence, they will have doctors and receive treatments. Kids will go to school in these shelters. Women will be provided with home, with food, and sometimes with opportunity to work. So society, on one hand, tries to fight and to prevent, and on other one, it tries to support the victims of domestic violence. Another thing is the side of men society. People who bring this harm and who cause the violence need to be educated as well. And especially we need to educate boys who are future men. Or of course speak to men which are now in relationship and have families. So they understand that women are equal. We need to protect our women. We need to respect our women. We need to support them. And this education for men and boys is really crucial, because if they are educated and understanding and willing to follow, let's say, these normal rules, then we will have generally less violence, and this will be one of the ways to prevent it. Then we have some programs. It depends on the country and the region, but they could be religious, cultural, educative programs which are prepared for specific society groups, so they can educate them on equity and non-violence. And of course, advocacy for data and policy, because a lot of data is unknown, because people don't go to report, because the reports are not accepted, because they are shy. Many women know that I will not go because it makes no sense and it will be stigma, and I don't want people to know. They don't speak, girls don't speak to mothers. They hide the cases of violence. So it's very important that people understand that it's safe to go, and you need to go, because the more we know, the more we can do about it and to prevent and to protect. So practically, what we can do, we as each of us and the society. First of all, we raise the awareness in our community, in our city, town, in our countries. Then we have to create support networks, safe places, and education programs which will work towards eliminating of any kind of violence. Then we need to challenge harmful stereotypes which we have, on TV. Many films, they are really full of violence, and these new songs which we have, this rap and trap and all this stuff where they are with guns and drugs, and it's very bad example for young generation. So yeah, we cannot forbid it, but in Western world we definitely need to think about what is the example for our new generation we translate to them, and we need to think about it very much and see how we can bring more good examples. Then we need, of course, to support organizations who are working on prevention and support of survivors and prevention of violent cases, and everyone who is involved in this, because they are the ones who are supporting practically, they are the ones who are fighting practically and doing the daily actions. So we have a lot of work to do, but it's always up to us how much we involve ourselves and people around us. So every voice matters, every action matters. And I ask everyone who is participating today and everyone who will see it on YouTube and in any other resources, be active in this question. Do a little bit on a daily basis. Speak to your son, talk to your husband, discuss it with the younger people. It's very simple things which could change, their mind and their behavior in future. So it's always up to us. Violence is not okay, and each of us, we need to work on this on a daily basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, for bringing us closer to reality many choose not to see. What you shared remind us that is in conflict. Violence does not end at the front line. It follows women into displacement, uncertainty, and survival. And the truth is, when a woman loses her home, she should not lose her safety. Protection is not a privilege, it is a right, especially in crisis, especially in war. And this is the reality, unfortunately, so many women in conflict zone are living today. They endured, they suffered, and yet they continue to hope for safety, hope for dignity, and hope that peace will finally reach them. And from this space, we extend that hope with them. May peace return to their country, and may their lives be rebuilt with dignity and security. Thank you so much, Anna. So our
you.
next theme bring us to the core of this summit, ending gender-based violence in all its forms, from domestic violence and sexual harassment to FGM, child marriage, and conflict-related abuse. It is my honor to introduce Brenda Alwani, a gender and development advocate and the founder of My Body, an initiative champion inclusive sexual and reproductive health and rights for adolescent girls and young women in Kenya's most underserved region. With over 7 years of grassroots and policy level leadership, Brenda continue to shape rights-based solution that protects, educates, and amplifies marginalization community. Tonight, she will speak to us about the reality and pathways to ending GBV in all its forms. Brenda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. My name is Brenda from Kenya, and I'm the voice of young women. Thank you very much. I'll have to read some statements that I have written to everyone all over the world, just to listen to my voice. As all the speakers have said, we are all sad that gender-based violence is not going to end soon, yet we are all advocating for gender-based violence to end. And so I will still greet everyone. Hello, everyone joining us from around the world. My name is Brenda, a gender and development specialist and a founder of an organization called My Body, an organization working with adolescent girls, young women, and communities in Kenya's arid and semi-arid land counties and urban informal settlements. Today, as we are still commemorating 16 days of activism, and every day is a celebration to all of us. Today, as we commemorate the International Day of the Elimination of Violence, we are on the 6th day. We gather with a shared commitment to say one thing clearly: violence against women and girls must end, wherever it happens, however it happens, and to whoever it happens. This year's themes, ending all forms of violence against women and girls, including digital violence, speaks directly to the evolving faces of violence we see every day in our country, Kenya. And I also presume that in your various countries, you all see, you all feel we are not safe even online. So for our country, Kenya's reality, Kenya continues to face a serious and persistent gender-based violence crisis in many communities. Violence is not just an incident, it's a daily lived experience. Women and girls face abuse in homes, in public spaces, in schools, in workplaces, and increasingly online. Many survivors suffer in silence because of stigma, cultural expectations, and fear of retaliations. Others are trapped. Others are trapped. Others are trapped because they lack economic independence or because reporting mechanisms are weak and slow. In my work on the ground, I see the realities beyond the statistics. I meet girls whose education ends because of violence. I meet girls whose education ends because of violence, young mothers carrying traumas without support, and women who feel unseen and unheard. In arid and semi-arid counties such as Isiolo, Marsabit, and Mandera, girls faces added layers of vulnerability, poverty, harmful or retrogressive cultural expectations, and limited access to sexual reproductive health and rights and support services. Kindly scroll up for me. Thank you. I'll speak about the rise of tech-facilitated gender-based violence, which is a rising form of GBV that we are not yet ready to talk about it because we are not done with all the other form of GBV. As we fight violence offline, another battle is growing rapidly online in Kenya. Kenya basically is witnessing a sharp rise in tech-facilitated gender-based violence. Women and girls, especially adolescents, content creators, activists, and women leaders are being targeted through cyberbullying, non-consensual image sharing, impersonation, online stalking, threats, and digital blackmail. Digital violence causes real harm. Mental distress, shame, withdrawal from social spaces, and disappearances from online platforms where women and girls should be free to learn, express, lead, and thrive. And I feel the theme of this year was very much direct to everyone, especially us here in Kenya, because this year's theme is a call to all of us to understand that violence is evolving. Ending violence must now mean ending it everywhere, in homes, in communities, in schools, in working places, and across digital spaces. Why this should be done? We know very much there is a lot that has been done to support survivors of gender-based violence. There's so much funding, there's so much force, there's so much support that has gone to prevention. But how are we supporting survivors beyond whatever they have gone through? So there should be strengthened survival-centered systems that guarantee confidentiality, dignity, and justice. I know policies exist in so many countries, in our organizations we are working in, but are they working? Or the survivors are only helped then when they are okay, they are not even followed up. Then there should be digital safety skills, which should be built for young women, parents, teachers, and communities. I'm speaking for young women because I'm their voice. I'm not leaving behind men and boys because they are our allies, they are our brothers, they are everybody. Men and boys are not going to miss in my speech. Then we should invest in sexual reproductive health and rights education and technology literacy for girls. Let's say from our children, how they are growing to them transforming to adulthood, because information is power. There should be support to grassroots women-led organizations like My Body, which is our organization. We believe that there has been support to organizations, but there's need to be more investment to organizations that are women-led, because we know what we go through and we know who to support. Then we should engage men and boys, as I said. We should also engage faith leaders to shift the retrogressive norms that we feel it's so hard for us to tackle them. We have worked with faith leaders in Kenya, and it's really working so well for us. Also, let's not leave behind men and boys because they are part and parcel of us. They need to know what we always learn. We should not leave them outside every conversation that we have of ending all forms of violence, because we understand also there are some men and boys who are going through gender-based violence. We shall also ensure humanitarian and crisis settings are safe for women and girls. There have been so many cases of humanitarian areas where still the beneficiaries are going through violence because of their vulnerabilities. Then my last messages are: ending violence is not the responsibility of women alone. It is the responsibility of all of us. No woman or girl should fear speaking, learning, posting, walking home, or simply existing. When we protect one woman, we protect a generation. When we create safety for girls, we create stability for society. Thank you very much, everyone. I was given guidance to speak on all forms of violence, but I felt it was so important for me to tackle the technology facilitated gender based violence that is happening now. And I wish us all the best. Let's be mindful, whatever we post online, whatever comment we make, we should be mindful of what we do because it has really affected so many people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brenda, for bringing forward a reality that demands our full attention. Really, this is a hard and painful truth that women and girls are still enduring both offline and now increasingly online. And the rise of tech facilitated GBV makes the urgency even clearer. Violence has evolved, and our response must evolve with it. So, cyberbullying, deepfake abuse, online blackmails, digital stalking, are not modern problems, they are modern weapons. Your message reminds us that ending violence is not the responsibility of women alone. This is the responsibility of all of us because when we protect one woman, we protect a generation. Thank you very much, Brenda, for your voice that you contributed with. So our next theme focus on cornerstone of SDG 16, safety, right, and justice. Because survivor-centered legal process, accountability, and accessible justice systems are non-negotiable in any society and claims to protect its people. It is my honor to introduce Tanak Mugava, former SRC president at WUA, Deputy Minister of Women Affairs in Model Parliament Africa, woman educator, national president of AYLFE, life coach, and personal branding coach, a young leader whose influence spans governance, advocacy, empowerment, and community development. Tonight, she will speak on survivor-centered justice, accountability, legal access, and the role of communities in reporting and protection. Tanaka, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yeah.
All right. So good day, everyone, and thank you for being here. So today I want to briefly walk us through the global picture of gender-based violence and the legal frameworks meant to protect survivors and how we can strengthen access to justice and community protection systems. So to speak, gender-based violence remains one of the most widespread human rights violations in the world, and globally, 1 in 3 women has experienced a form of physical, sexual violence, and these days we have what we call digital violence as well. And this tells us that gender based violence is not just an individual issue, it is a global crisis affecting families, communities, and national development. In 2023 alone, about 51,000 women were killed by intimate partner or family members, places where we feel safe, where we feel close to. These are the people that are perpetrating this kind of violence. And GBV affects multiple sustainable developmental goals from health, education, poverty reduction, and gender equality. So on the legal frameworks, I'm going to just list some of the legal framework that exists internationally and also in countries. So internationally, we have what is called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which also speaks against any form of violence against women. And we have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the CEDAW of 1979. And then we have the UN Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which is of 1993. So the existing of these documents, it is dated back to 1993 to 1948, but we still realize that violence is still happening up to date. So what exactly are we supposed to do as women or as advocates in our country? I believe that there are laws that are important, but the challenge is that It's not about the absence of the law, but its implementation. And survivors often struggle with systems that are slow, insensitive, or inaccessible. So you'll find out that these laws exist, but now the problem is on implementation. I'll give an example of Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, we have a law that is called Domestic Violence Act, which also protects women from any form of violence, that can be digital, that can be physical violence. But you find out that this is just on paper. When women go to report in to these polices, they take their time, and they'll sometimes discriminate you for reporting. They'll sometimes victimize you, saying you need to go back, you need to talk to your husband before you come back, you come here, of which you will be suffering in your homes, and no one is taking you serious. So I would say these laws exist, but the issue is on implementation. And another challenge that we face is social stigma, long investigations. They'll take their time, and you realize that by the time they try to sue the perpetrator, some people would have committed suicide and they would have gone through a huge mental breakdown. And there's also a lack of clear information on their rights. So you find out that, especially in marginalized communities where they have no access to internet, access to electricity, these people have suffered in silence and they have nowhere to report to. It's like embedded in their culture to say you should accept violence. As a woman, you shouldn't be complaining against men. So those kind of violence that are happening in marginalized communities, I think us as advocates, we need to go beyond the digital. We need to go into those communities where people do not have access to all this information. They don't know the existence of the laws. They don't know the existence of any form of protection that they may be given. So it's up to us to go into these communities and also advocate for those people. And when it comes to these law providers or law enforcement officers, I think there is training that needs to be done when it comes to the issue of long investigation. And there's also an issue to provide free legal aid, ensuring that survivors don't have to navigate complex systems alone. And then I'm going to speak on the issue of survivor-centered legal processes. A survivor-centered approach means that putting the survivor's safety, dignity, choice at the heart of every step in the legal process, which means regardless of who has come to report, either they are rich or they are poor, you need to respect what they are saying. You need to make sure that they are safe. Because if they come and report and then you send them back to the home that they are being abused, that then leads to many deaths, leads to many violence happening in their communities. Henceforth, we need to make sure there is safety. We need to make sure that these people are treated with dignity. Henceforth, this requires gender responsive laws, trauma enforced services, and coordinated support. Survivors should never be blamed, doubted, or forced to relive their trauma unnecessarily. And moving on to the issue of community reporting and protection networks, I believe that as a community, we need to do more than for us to wait for the law enforcers or for the law officers, because in our communities, that's where violence is mostly taking place. In many areas, formal systems are far away or difficult to reach, so community based networks become the first line of defense. Henceforth, as community members, let's support each other. Let's offer solidarity to women that we are seeing in our community suffering, women that we are seeing being abused in their homes. Let's be the people to report. Let's be the people to educate our own communities. Effective community program raise awareness, challenge harmful cultural norms, and build a zero tolerance environment for gender-based violence. If you notice that in your community, people do not take gender-based violence seriously or they do not follow the law, let's take it upon ourselves to educate the community to also fight against gender-based violence. Because if we only wait for the law enforcers, henceforth we are going to be drawn back, or we are going to be talking about the same thing over and over again. However, community organizations often need capacity building, they need training, they need resources. Strengthening this grassroots system helps survivors to get immediate support and proper referral to health and justice services. Henceforth, in conclusion, I would like to say gender based violence is not just a legal issue, it is a societal issue. We need strong laws, survivor centered justice systems, and empowered communities working as one. Solidarity is key if we want to really solve this issue of gender-based violence, because at times, especially if you go on social media, you will find out that other women are the ones that are commenting, violating comments on another woman's post, which means we need to start as women to protect each other, to be there for each other, rather than promoting gender-based violence. And also, ending gender-based violence requires commitment from all of us: policymakers, service providers, civil society, and community members. I believe that together we can build safer spaces, protect survivors, and break the cycle of violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tanaka, for your powerful insights and your commitment to justice-centered leadership. Your message reminds us that accountability is not a legal concept, it's a moral responsibility and community responsibility. And the truth is, justice does not begin in courtroom. It begins the moment a survivor is believed, protected, and supported. Without that, laws remains words and rights remains promise instead of reality. So our next theme focuses on the safe cities and safe community aligned with SDG 11, because public spaces, transport systems, and digital environments must be places of safety, not fear. It is my honor to introduce Bahal Ndoda. I hope that I pronounced it correctly, a researcher, founder, and social justice advocate dedicated to transformation, equity, and inclusive development. She is the founder of the Acute Research Institute, the co-founder of the Give Hope Foundation, and a contributor to the International Council on Human Rights, Peace, and Policy. Tonight, Bal will speak on public space safety, transport safety, digital safe space, and the role of engaging men and boys. Bahal, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is a privilege to be here with people who are committed to reimagining safety, not as a privilege, but as a human right. Tonight, I want to speak about gender-based violence not as an abstract term. I want to speak about gender-based violence not as an academic debate, but as a lived crisis, shaping the daily realities of women in South Africa, across Africa, and around the world. During the G20 summit hosted in South Africa, I'm sure all of you were watching, an organization advocating for women's rights launched a national movement that captured the country. People turned their social media profile pictures purple. Workplaces encouraged staff members to dress in purple to create a unified symbol for urgency and solidarity for women. The message was clear. The world is now watching us. Before we celebrate our global presence, let us make them understand the struggles women face in our country. So even as South Africa hosted the international conversation on politics and the economy, women's safety remained one of our most urgent national concerns. Next slide. Gender-based violence is often framed in the language of reports, theories, and policy documents. But GBV does not live in reports. It lives in our homes, in silence, and in the everyday negotiations women make to survive. At the grassroots, GBV is not a theoretical issue. It is an immediate, practical, and painfully human issue. Next slide. In Africa, culture shapes identity, belonging, and the way communities function. But when patriarchal interpretations take root, culture can become a source of harm, which then requires us to reflect and think critically about the intentions behind some cultural practices. Girls are taught silence to protect family honor. Women are taught to remain in marriages for the sake of the home. Brides' prices, which is also known as ilobola in South Africa, is sometimes misused to justify ownership over women. Sons are raised to believe authority is their birthright, while daughters or girls, unfortunately, learn to shrink themselves. These patterns repeatedly across generations have normalized violence and make it difficult for women to speak out or seek help. Next slide. GBV is also shaped by the socio-economic conditions many communities face. Unemployment, firstly, creates frustration and powerlessness. Similarly, poverty traps women in unsafe households. On the other hand, limited access to education restricts awareness of rights and allows harmful behavior to be normalized. And finally, structural inequalities make legal protection and essential services difficult to access. All these four pressures deepen vulnerability and make escaping violence incredibly challenging. Next slide. Silence has protected this problem of GBV for far too long. And I think I've heard most of our speakers speak about how women are shunned or frowned upon when they speak up in their communities or in their workplaces. We must learn to name violence for what it is without softening it. We must challenge cultural practices that no longer serve our communities. We must keep pushing for advocacy, visibility, and bold leadership. The Purple Movement, as I watched in my country, South Africa, showed us that collective violence can spark national reflection. It reminded us that women's safety must be a priority, not an afterthought. Next slide. If we want safe cities and safe communities, we must build them intentionally through culture, education, policy, and collective courage. But safety is not a woman's issue. Something that I always say is that safety requires men to step up as allies. We need men to join these conversations, initiate structures that fight GBV, and speak up in workplaces, communities, academic spaces, and homes when they sense harm. When women lead and men actively participate, when communities reflect and challenge harmful norms, only then can safety become a lived reality. Next slide. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you very much, Bahal, for shedding light on a reality we often overlook. That safety is not only a home issue, but a city issue, a community issue, and increasingly a digital one. And the truth is clear, a city is not modern if its women are not safe. Safety must be engineered into street transport system and culture, and it must involve everyone, like you said, including men and boys. So our next theme focuses on the foundation that shapes the future, GBV prevention through education and youth leadership, because the mindset of the next generation will determine the world we leave behind. It's my honor to introduce Priscilla Thindwa, an international development program manager whose work anchored in gender equality, social inclusion, and human rights. She had designed and implemented gender-responsible programs across complex environments, built strong strategy partnership, and advanced inclusive economic participation for marginalized communities around the world. Tonight, Priscilla will speak on the school and university programs, youth-led campaign, curriculum integration, and allyship, the tools that empower young people to become diverse of reality lasting change. Priscilla, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Amel. Oh, I'm sorry, I changed my topic last minute. So thank you so much for this platform, and it's so amazing to listen to all these powerful speeches from powerful women who are fighting hard to end gender-based violence. So I'll be speaking on cyberbullying and digital violence against women in Malawi. So I'm Malawian. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll start my presentation. Am I audible enough? You can just give me a sign that you can hear me.
Yeah, perfect, my dear. Just go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So. Okay, so imagine walking in the dark at night. Suddenly, invisible stones are thrown by a faceless mob. They don't break your bones; they break spirits. And unlike physical wounds, these digital scars are shared with the world forever. So this is the reality that most Malawian women face. So 59% of women in Malawi For 59% of women in Malawi, the internet is no longer a tool for connection. It is a weaponized window where safety is a luxury. And in most Malawian cases, 1 in 5 girls have left or have reduced the use of social media because of violence that they face when it comes to social media. This is not just online drama. It's a systematic extension of gender-based violence, and we have seen this especially with the movements that, especially the people movement that Bukley has spoken about. This is not an issue that's just prevalent in the African context, but it's everywhere in the world. So there are different types of forms of digital violence. The first one is non-consensual images, where we see intimate images are shared without consent. And in most cases, this is deemed as revenge porn, used as a tool for public humiliation and blackmail. And this is mostly common for females. And then another form is cyber stalking, where there's persistent surveillance, threats, and of course, false accusations aimed at instilling fear as well as control over the victim. And the other form of digital violence is hate speech. This is mostly targeted attacks and misinformation campaigns, especially against female leaders and journalists. And we see this a lot when it comes to politicians. And all these forms of violence, they're prevalent amongst different regions of the world. And I'm sure some of us have experienced some of these attacks, especially in the hate speech on the internet. So I'll just give 3 examples in the Malawian case, where we have had women experiencing digital violence. The first one is a girl called Lise. In Lisa's case, she experienced online digital violence when her ex-partner leaked intimate photos of Lisa. So this ended her life, because after her pictures were exposed, she committed suicide. So you could see that digital violence has so many consequences. As you can see, that she tragically lost her life, and we see that digital violence has lethal, real-world consequences, and it's not just virtual pain; it's pain that's experienced by real women with real lives. It's not just something that we see on the internet. These are things that actually happen. And then another case is about a journalist. Her name is Priscilla Kaila. She faced a lot of backlash on the internet. She's a very popular journalist in Malawi, and she's very prominent in the journalist society. She faced over 8 years of relentless online attacks just because she chose not to. She got married and sorry, she has not had kids yet, and because of that, she's been facing lots of insults, and most of the people that actually bully her, they're fellow women, and that's very appalling because you see in most cases, as some of the speakers have spoken, in most cases the people that instill violence, they're also like fellow women. So her attacks were basically on her choice of motherhood. But because of rather than silencing her, these attacks have violated the misogynist standards women in media face. And you see this is also both from the males and also females, but in most cases it's from the male side. So you can see there's the way misogyny, the way misogyny is very prevalent within the social media. And then the other case is a journalist, she's a writer. Her name is Edith Gondre. She has faced targeted insults and false narratives about her family just because she wrote a piece in the newspaper about like how women should not depend on their spouses, on their partners. Yeah. So because of this, she faced a lot of backlash. But yes, yeah, a lot of backlash. Yeah. So we see like all these platforms. There are different platforms that there are a lot of different platforms that encourage gender-based violence, so to say. And we can see that there's always like WhatsApp, especially in the Malawian context, where WhatsApp as well as Facebook, they're the most used ones. So what we need to do, we need to there's lots of silence. Sorry. There's been there's a silent epidemic, as Bootley has mentioned and some other speakers have mentioned. There's so much silence when it comes to gender-based violence. So there's so many consequences where we have mental health issues, where we saw the example of Lise, where she committed suicide. And there's also severe anxiety and also depression among the victims, and also social isolation. As I mentioned at the beginning, that in most cases, most Malawian girls and women, they tend to isolate themselves from social media because they feel like they'll always be victimized for posting anything on social media. And of course, self-censorship, the ultimate goal of this violence is silence. Women engage less in digital spaces, as I've already mentioned, reducing the economic as well as civic participation. And like nowadays, social media is very important for economic opportunities. Yeah. So what should we do? What's the next? What should we do as sorry, my apologies. So we have legal framework and gaps that exist within the context of Malawi. So as you can see on this slide, there's only one legal framework that explicitly talks about digital or cyberbullying or cyber harassment. We have this Electronic Transaction Act of 2016, and this was recently enacted. And you can see how the seriousness this issue is given. So this act is technically criminalizes cyber harassment. There's significant gaps that exist where we have less lack of enforcement, where police officers and law enforcement they lack the technical resources as well as ways to track perpetrators, because in most cases these perpetrators are faceless beings, like they're just on the internet on their keyboards. And also we need to have specific laws. The laws, they lack specificity, where they're not too specific on the the laws are not too specific, as well as the legal system, especially on issues to do with revenge porn. And we have seen in case of Lisa's case where her ex-partner exposed her intimate photos, where the ex-partner was not explicitly prosecuted for it. And of course, there's cost of justice, where in most cases legal fees prohibit many victims from pursuing abusers. And I think Tanaka mentioned something about like how it's expensive for most victims to afford legal representation. So what's next? So there's what should we do? We need to have, we need to educate, we need to encourage digital literacy where both women and men and girls and boys are able to know how to use social media, and also get psychosocial support. And of course, the other one is legislation where we have specific laws that allow for a prosecution of such cases. And of course, the last one, the most important one, is the culture, ending the culture of blaming the victim. And this thing is in most cases, it's usually the woman who is blamed, because they would say, why did you take these pictures? So, and they focus mostly on the victim and less focus on the perpetrator. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we end the culture of victim blaming. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla, for comforting us with a truth we cannot often, not just in Malawi, but many places is happening. Digital violence is not virtual, it is real, it's devastating, and it's claiming lives. This is really not online incident. They are deliberate acts of harm, and that breaks spirits, isolate women, and in case like Lisa's, become fatal. Her story reminds us of one reality we must say clearly: a digital attack can end a life just as surely as a physical one. And until safety online becomes a right, not a privilege, we cannot speak of equality in many other ways. Thank you again, Priscilla, for your contribution. So our next theme highlights one of the most transformative forces in this field: women's leadership and grassroots movements, the places where real change began, where community mobilize, and where global networks are born. It is my honor to introduce Sola Magaji, hope that I pronounce it well, and an international development specialist with expertise spanning women's economic empowerment, gender equality, STEAM inclusion, and security sector reform. She has led donor-funded initiatives, advised government and financial institutions, and developed gender-responsive frameworks that open doors for women and youth entrepreneurship. Tonight, Sola will speak on women's leadership, grassroots mobilization, capacity building, and global network. Sola, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Maheen and the Women Ascension team for this wonderful opportunity to be part of this very enriching and enlightening conversation. I also want to thank all the speakers who have spoken before me. The work you're doing is inspiring, and we know that we will keep at it, we'll continue pushing, we'll continue fighting until we put an end to this scourge of women's violence. This evening, I'll be speaking on grassroots power and how women's leadership is key to ending digital violence. I hope you can all see my screen and you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Someone please just speak. I can't really see. So I'm talking about ending digital violence because this year's theme of the International Day to End Violence Against Women and Girls, this year's theme is Unite to End Digital Violence Against Women and Girls. And I'm here to talk about how we need to mobilize grassroots power, how we need women's leadership to fight digital violence. Promoting women's leadership and strengthening grassroots movements against digital violence is essential. Why is grassroots leadership essential? Because in ending this problem, top-down solutions will not be good enough. We need to move beyond global directives and address local lived realities. We need to listen to the people on the ground, the people who are closest to the issue. We need to center the voices of women and girls. We need to transform the digital landscape into a place of safety and opportunity for women and girls. Grassroots Grassroots action is the engine for progress in prevention, protection, and accountability. We're not going to make any progress in stopping digital violence or violence against women and girls in general if we do not mobilize grassroots action. Because with the grassroots, the solutions they bring are grounded in lived-in experience. Our women leaders at the grassroots, they understand intimately what violence is all about. They understand what gender-based violence is all about, what intimate partner violence is all about. They've had lived-in experiences of cyberbullying, of deepfakes, of sextortion. Because as our lives are becoming more and more intertwined and interconnected with technology, and technology is opening more and more opportunities to women and girls, it is also bringing new dangers, new hazards, which need to be addressed. And in developing solutions to address these issues, we need to carry along the women from the grassroots because of their intimate understanding of these issues, as I've said before. When we're designing policies, you can see Malawi. The previous speaker spoke about policies that have been enacted in Malawi, and other countries are enacting similar policies. But we need the women at the grassroots to help shape these policies. We need them to contribute to the shaping and design of these policies so that these policies can be authentic, can address real-world vulnerabilities, and not just be theoretical. The previous speaker spoke about some of the challenges Malawi has in implementing the policies they have enacted. When we involve our women leaders in the grassroots, we involve our women from the ground, they help us design policies that can actually be implemented, with the limited resources available. Involving women from the grassroots will result in more accurate, effective, and inclusive global responses to the fight to gender-based violence and to digital violence against women. Grassroots movements help to translate global messages into local action. They are this critical link. They convert broad global themes like the Unite theme of this year into tangible community actions. They have practical reach. They're able to conduct local awareness campaigns, teach practical digital safety skills, and reach populations, marginalized and excluded populations who are not usually included in big national or global movements. They have the accessibility. Because people are able to access them easily, they're able to lead the fight against digital violence and able to make tools that will help digital violence accessible to everybody in the community. Some of the ways our grassroots organizations and women-led organizations have been supporting the fight against gender-based violence and against digital violence against women. And these were really highlighted in the third speaker. I believe Anna is her name, the lady from Ukraine. She talked about this a lot in her speech about what they're doing in Greek for people coming in from Ukraine. And some of the things they do are creating safe havens and survivor-centric support. So many of these organizations, they act as first responders. They're the first people who survivors reach out to when acts of violence have been perpetrated against them. They provide confidential reporting channels. They provide community-based accountability. They make the community aware that there's a need to keep women and girls safe. They help women to become empowered. Just Dr. Main said, one of the most critical tools against gender-based violence is women economic empowerment. So they provide safe spaces to help survivors navigate the shame and fear and empower them to seek help, report abuse, and confidently reclaim their peace offline and online. They provide peer counseling and psychosocial support. Grassroots organizations, women-led organizations continue to advocate for accountability and systemic change. And we can see that we are achieving success in these regards. We have started achieving success in On a national scale, several countries, but many countries now have laws prohibiting violence against women. I think even France recently amended one of their laws about gender-based violence against women, making it stronger and making it easy, shifting the burden of proof from the survivor and making it easier to seek to get convictions of perpetrators in the courts of law. So some of the things our women have been advocating for successfully and progressively: robust laws against cyber stalking and image-based abuse. There's been a proliferation of deepfakes, AI images on the internet, which have caused a lot of trauma, severe trauma to people who have been targeted. Transparency and stronger action from tech giants. The technology firms also owe a responsibility to keeping our women safe online, and advocacy has been ongoing towards that. Gender-sensitive reporting mechanisms, where we're able to reporting on online bullying, cyber stalking should be easy and should be safe for women. And evidence-based change, and with evidence from their communities, grassroots movements have ensured legislation and platform policies are both strong and equitable. Our women-led grassroots movements have been very effective in mobilizing communities and shifting social norms. Somebody said it before, and it is true. Digital violence is rooted in offline gender inequality. Digital violence is rooted in offline gender-based violence. We can't stop digital violence. We can't stop online violence unless we address the root cause, which is the offline violence. Our grassroots women-led movements have been very instrumental in addressing these issues. In mobilizing the communities, they engage the entire community. I think the lady from Kenya said it. We cannot stop violence against women and girls without involving men, because men are the main perpetrators of this violence. We need to start addressing issues like toxic masculinity, addressing issues that cause men to disrespect women and believe that they have a say over a woman's body, or they have the right to a woman's body. And our grassroots movements have been key in addressing these issues. They have been promoting zero tolerance for violence against women and girls, zero tolerance for digital violence, zero tolerance for gender discrimination through local and national campaigns. They challenge harmful norms that excuse online abuse and have been fostering a cultural shift towards zero tolerance. Our grassroots movements have been instrumental in ensuring an inclusive and intersectional movement in ending digital violence and violence against women and girls, because they have deep ties to their communities and to diverse groups in the communities, including hard-to-reach groups such as women with disabilities, rural girls, marginalized women. They're able to ensure that solutions are inclusive and intersectional. Solutions provided look at the intersectional causes of gender-based violence, both online and offline. We've talked about conflict this evening. We've talked about poverty. We've talked about harmful cultural norms. These and many others are part of the issues which our grassroots movements are addressing to tackle this scourge. Equitable delivery. They ensure that solutions are culturally relevant and truly equitable and leave nobody behind. They help to build sustainable momentum for the long-term impact. This year's theme for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls is for us to unite against digital violence. But what happens after this year? What happens after the days against gender-based violence? What happens after that? It's our grassroots movements, our women-led organizations. They keep the momentum going. They keep the fight going. Beyond awareness days, they maintain sustained year-round efforts to fight this scourge. They provide engine for long-term change through continuous advocacy and education, cultivating and growing and grooming new generation of women leaders, and they serve as an enduring force. They ensure that the spirit of global and national campaigns continue to live on and endure for sustainable progress. So in summary, what is the way forward? Our strategy. We invest in grassroots women leaders. Expected outcomes of doing that are informed policies shaped by lived reality. We center marginalized voices. This helps to expand the reach of such policies to include the most marginalized. We provide local safe havens such that survivors are empowered and can access support and justice. We advocate for strong laws so that accountable systems are developed that protect women's rights. We mobilize communities. We engender transformative norms that create respect both online and offline. We sustain the momentum, sustained action that outlasts any single campaign. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for joining in the fight against gender-based violence, both online and offline.
And thank you so much, Sola, for your clarity, your strength, and the depth of experience you brought to this STEM. And the truth is, the woman lead at the grassroots entire nation shift because the change built locally is the challenge that's last. Thank you again, Sola. So our next theme brings us into a space that defines our present and our future: technology, innovation, and digital protection for women. Because safety today is not only physical, it is digital, algorithmic, and deeply connected to the systems we create. This is my honor to introduce Mariam Shuaibu Aliou, an information security specialist, cybersecurity trainer, and risk and complication advocate. He works with organizations to reduce human risk through training, policy, and digital safety programs. Tonight, Mariam will speak on the technologies and protections women need to stay safe in an increasingly digital world. Mariam, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much for having me. Am I audible? All right. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from where you're listening from. And it has been an insightful conversation so far. And I'll say I'm very privileged to be part of the speakers to come share my 2 cents on the topic. So we're talking about women, and we're talking about the gender-based violence. And a lot of speakers have talked about deepfake, cyber stalking, cyber bullying. And this is where I'm going to say a lot of women, when it comes to this current dispensation, a lot of women use phones. We use phones to shop online. We use phones to learn online. We also use phone to network, that socialize, and even build our careers online. So technology has opened door for women, and it's something that we say technology. I normally tell people that technology is a two-sided of a sword. It has its negative side and it has its positive side. And a lot of times a lot of women fall in the negative side of the technology. So we have deepfake, we have how to deepfake, we have the sextortion, we have cyberbullying, we have cyber stalking, and most women are the ones that fall for this. And we also have one thing I normally tell people is, if people are not aware, you don't blame people when they are not aware. And a lot of times, why people fall for this, why women fall for this, because they are not aware, they don't know how to protect themselves from all these kind of attacks. Because in each country, like every country has their own Data Protection Act. Here in Nigeria, we call them the National Data Protection Act. In the EU, we call them the General Data Protection Act, whereby you have the right, if you know how to report people, if you know how to report any incident that happens to you, you can be able to report it and you can take a legal action against anyone that cyberstalk you, that try to cyberbully you. But if you don't know how to do that, and that's where the consequences comes into play. We're talking about online safety and preventing cyber harassment. We need to start teaching women how to protect themselves online. Because every day, thousands of women experience cyberbullying. They experience rumor scam. Because a lot of time you see someone just come to your DM telling you all sort of rubbish. Maybe someone that you don't have any mutual with them. They just start coming direct to your DM, telling you things that they don't supposed to tell you. So these are romance scam, and a lot of time women fall. And one thing about these hackers, we call them these cyber criminals. One thing about them is that they don't just attack you. Sometimes they see you, they gather information about you before they attack the victim. So women face all this sort of thing. So we need to start teaching women how to set some boundaries with their smartphone. If you're on a social media account, let's take LinkedIn, for example, you need to know how to turn your privacy settings on. Who are those that are supposed to see your posts? Only those that you give access to see your post are the ones that are able to see your post. So if you have only those that are in your close circles see your post, I don't think you're going to have any harassment on social media. And you have to learn women need to start learning how to block and report abusive accounts. Because if you don't know how to block it, that's when they still come for you. They'll keep coming for you. And when you report them, you get their account being banned. So, and we need to start protecting our information. That's one thing we normally tell people in the cyberspace. If you must share, be cautious of what you share online, because the internet never forgets and it never forgives. So you as a woman, you have to be very careful not to share sensitive information online, because definitely they can use it against you. So that's why we normally advise, if you want to share an information, share a professional stories, not personal stories online. So these are the things that we do. And you need to start teaching women how to browse safely, because we have an attack we call man-in-the-middle attack, where attackers intercept your packet on transit. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to send message to Mahid, and if a man in the middle happens to see that message, he or she can intercept that message. He might decide not to deliver that message to Mahid, or to deliver the message, or to alter that message to Mahid. So that's why we have to start learning how to the safe browsing. Sometimes we advise to be on the safer side. If you want to browse anything online, you use the incognito mode on Chrome. If you're using Mozilla, we always advise to use the in private. If you're in private on Mozilla. So, and know how you share, and know when you're browsing any app you're trying to browse, don't allow them to have access to any of your app, because a lot of time these cyber criminals, those cookies that we accept without thinking, we think that, oh, I want to have access to this app, I need to just accept the cookie so that they will give me access to the app. These are the things that hackers does to have your information. That's why you see sometimes you might be talking about going to a mall to get a shoe, and then you get an advert, an advert that's of a store selling a shoe. It's not a rocket science. It's not anything. It's the access that you've given to some certain apps, because a lot of us have given out some apps access to our calls without us knowing. Some of us have given some apps access to our contact without us even knowing. So these are what hackers does. They pick those information and they start using it against you. Because sometimes when you give an app access, that's when they get some picture of you. You might not even be the one that shared it, to be sincere. You did not even share it. So it's the app that you give access to that is able to have access to your picture, and before you know, the person will start sending you a message asking you to pay, or else is going to like leak that pictures. So which is why we always advise any app, go to the setting of every app and check what that app has access to on your phone. So we have to start training women. We have to start telling women how to stay safe online. And because of time, I don't want to like waste our time. I think it's very late here. So the digital protection is not just human issue, to be sincere. It's a society, or let's say it's a societal responsibility. As we normally say, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility and business, irrespective of whether you're in the tech ecosystem or you're not in the tech ecosystem. Cybersecurity is your responsibility. Government must create stronger cyber laws. And I've said earlier, I think in Nigeria, yeah, if you share someone's picture without their consent, you either pay ₦1 million or serve, is it 2 or 3 years in prison if the person knows the law. So that's why sometimes we don't know the law. That's why we think everything that happens online is safe and we don't have anything to do. No, we actually have things to do. And school, as I always emphasize, school must start teaching students digital safety. And as women, you have to start guiding your child, your daughters, how to stay safe, how to identify scams, how to know what not to share online. And community we must stop blaming. As I will always say, you don't blame people when you don't train them. Because when you don't train people and you start blaming them, you're not doing the right thing. Because someone that is not aware is somehow ignorant. It has no idea of anything. So you don't blame when you don't train. So that's why we as parents, when kids do something that we know we've not trained them on it, we should not blame them. So the world, let's say, where human rights is not a place where they are attacked. So we need to start creating that ecosystem where women are not being attacked, a place where they thrive, not where they hide. Because I've heard of Malawi, where now a lot of girls are shunning away from the social media. While social media, to be sincere, for us, it has been something that has connected a lot of us. Like a lot of us are from different countries and continents. And even if for social media, we would have not been here today. So we need to start making a social media a place where women thrive, not where they hide, a place where they are safe and not where they are scared, where they can be able to do things freely without any scare. And I think together through technology and innovation and the digital protection, we could build a future where every human, whether young or old, can explore the digital world confidently and fearlessly when we start training them. So this is my 2 cents. Thank you so much for having me, Mahim. I'll be like, this is a great opportunity for me, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you very much, Mariam, for opening our eyes to the reality for digital volunteering and the urgent need for protection in online space. So that reminds us that technology is not neutral, it's amplified both safety and harm. And the truth is, if women are not safe online, they are not safe in the world we are building. Digital protection is no longer optional, it's a fundamental layer of human security. So, our final theme brings us to the heart of recovery, mental health, trauma healing, and psychological support, because survival is not the end of the journey, healing is. It's my honor to introduce Natsi Ruth Muar. I hope that I pronounced it correctly, a trained social worker, psychologist, and the vision bearer for Ruthie Counseling Center. With over 5 years of experience in psychological care, she supports individuals, families, and community who have lived through trauma, fear, and emotional distress. Tonight, she will speak on survivor healing, community mental health, counseling, and safe recovery spaces. Ruth, the floor is yours. Miss Ruth, is that she's here?
Her internet is not good, but she will join, I think. I will message her, no worries.
Okay, dear Tamino.
Hello, everyone. This is Ruth talking. Can you get me?
Yeah, hi, my dear. Hope that you're doing well.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My network is so poor. I really apologize. I couldn't really do it. How I wish I could work with the network and be able to succeed, but my network is really terrible. That's why
Well, my
I've
dear.
Yes, that's why I've been able to do it. Even with my slides, I will not be able to share them, but I just pray that we get the message, that the message goes through successfully because of the network challenge that I am facing currently.
Dear Nati, you can share your slides with me, so maybe we can share it for you on the screen.
I actually have that in my laptop, and currently,
okay, no worries, no worries, no worries.
out.
Then you can go. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Anyway,
Got it.
anyway, let me try. Let me try to see. Just give me a minute, please.
Sure, dear
It
Nati.
is okay. Let me try to see if I can share it with you. Ish. Oh, sorry, the network is not leaving me to do that. I'll just go ahead and do the presentation from here without sharing the slides. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Nazi, we can hear you. Please go on.
Okay. Okay, so we will be working on mental health, trauma healing, and psychosocial support. The topic we are working on today is mental health, trauma, and psychosocial support. So, living and working in the Northwest and Southwest regions of Cameroon that has been facing the political crisis for over 9 years now has exposed women, girls, families, and communities to mental health, trauma, GBV, and many other psychological challenges with little or no solution over these years. Many individuals, especially women and girls, have experienced trauma, depression, anxiety, fear, isolation, and even suicidal ideation as a result of this political crisis. So looking at the survivor healing services, with the presence of psychological support, medical care, legal assistance, safe space and protection, empowerment and reintegration referral systems, many individuals, especially women and girls, have experienced trauma as a result of gender-based violence, abuse, conflict, and displacement will heal emotionally, mentally, and physically. So with the presence of all these services, physical, psychological support, medical care, legal assistance, safe space, empowerment and referral systems, all these women who have experienced GBV and conflict and abuses will be able to heal emotionally, mentally, and physically. We also have the community mental health access. Many women and girls who have experienced violence have not had access to proper support due to non-availability, affordability, and acceptability of mental services within the local communities. But with continuous awareness raising, the introduction of WGSS, that's Women and Girls Safe Space, and many women and girls now feel free to share their stories among themselves, which is gradually restoring healing amongst them. So with the continuous sharing of stories among themselves, they don't have fear again. They are able to be restored from their past situations, from their past traumas, from their past GBVs that they faced as women and girls. We also have the counseling and psychosocial support, which has to do with individual counseling, group counseling, and peer support, which are some of the activities and services that aim to promote the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of women and girls affected by gender-based violence, trauma, conflict, and abuse. Remember that we are talking in the context of Cameroon and the Northwest and Southwest regions, where we have a lot of abuses, a lot of trauma, a lot of gender-based violence as the result of the political instability that is being faced by many women and girls. There is also a lot of displacement that has been going on since 2016, and up till now, we have not had a solution to that. So with the presence of peer support, with the presence of individual counseling, with the presence of group counseling, many women and girls, they have been able to share their challenges, share their difficulties, share what they've gone through, and they've been able to come out of those situations too successfully. We also have safe shelter and long-term support. Due to the political crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions, thousands of women and girls have lost their shelters, safe spaces where they were secured and protected. The continuous displacements have exposed them to gender-based violence, abuses, and lot more. With the presence of WGS's child-friendly spaces, many women have been able to learn new skills that can help them to survive and also fend for themselves in the long run. To support women and girls who have survived GBV, mental health, trauma, and psychological distress, we need to offer timely psychological support, timely medical care, timely legal assistance, timely safe space and protection, empowerment, and reintegration with referral systems. With referral systems, there are the different services that are available in the communities. And if we as actors, we make good use of these systems and services like the healthcare, like the legal systems, like the government or other non-governmental organizations, will be able to support women who have experienced gender-based violence, women who have gone through mental health, trauma, and psychological distress. Thank you all very much. And I am still sorry for the network challenges that we've had this evening, and I hope we've gotten the message that was supposed to go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth, to face in, even if you have a network issue, but no, you come here and you said the show must go on. Thank you very much, my dear, for bringing us back to the human core of this entire conversation. This reminds us that healing is not a luxury, it's necessary. And for many survivors, it is the only path back to themselves. And the truth is, ending violence means nothing if we do not also heal what violence was broken. Every survivor deserves safety, support, and a chance to rebuild with dignity and strength. As we reach the close of this summit, I want to invite you into a different kind of silence, not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of understanding. Tonight was not simply a sequence of topics, it was a map of the world as it is, fragile, unequal, and still researching for balance. We spoke about policies, about safety, about justice, about digital protection, about leadership, and about healing. And through every voice we heard, one truth echoed. Violence is not born in a moment. It is born in the spaces where humanity forgets its own meaning. To our speakers, thank you. Thank you for your courage, for your work, and for the honesty of your words. You did not simply present, you positioned it as face to face with reality. You reminded us of the cost of forgetting and the responsibility of remembering. And everyone here, your presence tonight is not accidental. You could have chosen distraction, you could have chosen silence, but you choose awareness. And awareness, when held with attention, becomes responsibility. If there is a single idea I want you to carry with you, it is this: society does not change when the words becomes louder. Society changes when individuals become clearer, clear about what they accept, clear about what they reject, clear about the kind of words they are willing to help build. Gender basis violence is not a woman's issue. It is a human mirror. It reflects who we are, what we value, and what we choose to ignore. And so I leave you with the question we began with, because it's not a question for tonight. It is a question for a lifetime. Where do you stand? And what do you stand for? What position do you choose to take after tonight? Let your answer be a practice, a position, and a way of moving in this world. On behalf of Women Ascension team and on behalf of our founder and our Dr. Mahin and Ms. Tamina and every story that deserves dignity and protection, thank you for being here. May your awareness become clarity, your clarity become action, and your action become part of restoring the balance we all need. Good night, keep safe, stay aware, and stay committed. And thank you for choosing to stand.